Cling.
Both of us. Yes, you got her iPad, and I forgot my book with all the questions in it.
Well, I can put the questions on the screen, and then you can.
Yeah. No, I guess we do. It's really just wanting a bit of clarity about the questions. Just what on earth I should ask it.
Wow.
Yeah, do you have one of them too, do you, Turkey?
No, I said we've got one. I'm not listening to you. I'm saying we've got one. She's talking about something. I'm talking about.
Well, clarity is an overestimated commodity.
Yeah, I like that.
Can we quote that to get short?
All right, let's do obeisance to Manjushri. Obeisance to my Guru and pertain to Manjushri, who holds his house, scripture, text, and body for his sins, all things in state. Whose change shines forth in the cloud. Who teaches in 60 ways with the patient love of Father for our nature. Caught in the prison of samsara, confused in the darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by their suffering. Yours, radiant fire, arouses under stupor of our delusions and frees us from the iron chains of our karma. Whose powerful sword of wisdom hews our suffering wherever its price appears, clearing away the darkness of all ignorance. I entreat you, my virtue, princely Buddhas endowed with honor. Sava Buddha, who has completed the 10 stages of achieving the highest perfection of a Bodhisattva, who has been pure from the beginning, Manjushri, O loving one, with the principle of wisdom, illuminate the darkness and close the line of visions of wisdom, so might gain insight into the Buddha's words and the text that explain them. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. In nations I gather through generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to be able to benefit also. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. In nations I gather by fixed in generosity, may I attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all living beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest assembly. Congratulations that God is for generosities, instead of Buddha to be able to benefit all. All right, good afternoon. I think that it's good. I don't know, I feel like someone is going to hit me with a hammer soon with this. Yeah, it feels like that.
Maxwell.
Yeah, I feel like Little Red Riding Hood, or Little Maroon Riding Hood. So I'm wondering if you have any questions arising from the questions of the weekend. If you have any. Number six, Mambo number 6. Let's put it on the screen. Mambo number 6. All right. Does guarding the perfection of ethics of restraint preclude the guarding of a monastic vow that was taken with the motivation of renunciation? Yeah, I thought of kind of sticking it in just to think about it. So, first of all, when you take ordination, you take motivation since ordination is taken with, sorry, I'll say it again. Ordination is done according to the Hinayana procedure. So when you take the ordination vow as a monk or a nun, you have to do it with the motivation of wanting to attain the state of liberation. That being the case, then when you practice ethical discipline of restraint as part of the 6 perfections, what about ethics that you have committed to that was with the motivation of attaining the state of liberation, according to the Hinayana.
What was the question? I'm still not clear what the question is.
All right. Ethical. So we're here looking at the practice of the 6 perfections, right? So we have within the perfection of ethics, the first type of ethics is ethics of restraint.
Yes.
Which means that guarding this ethics should be done with bodhicitta.
Yes.
What about vows that you have taken with renunciation?
Which vows have you taken? Because you've already taken refuge on a Mahayana refuge as well.
Yeah, but when you have taken ordination, you've done it with the motivation to be liberated.
You could argue the same as when you take refuge as a layperson as well.
But what about ordination? Ordination you take with, as the ritual itself is prescribed according to the Hinayana.
Yes.
The motivation is liberation. So when you practice ethics of Bodhisattva,
Liberation for the benefit of all.
so does it preclude vows that were taken with renunciation, or you still need to guard vows that were taken with?
Of course you do.
All right, that's a very kind of adamant answer.
And one of the very much your vows that you take are just for this lifetime alone, whereas the Bodhisattva vows and regarding ethics in Mahayana system is for all life.
So when you take, so when you practice the ethical discipline of Bodhisattva, you should practice ethics of Hinayanists.
No,
There's different levels of ethics. You're talking about just the level of ethics of restraint.
I'm just trying to kind of
I know.
push.
We're trying to push back.
Preclude is like exclude.
If you pick a particular behaviour,
It's it. Preclude isn't exclude. This is what we were trying to work out.
Well, preclude means like, you know, it's does not include.
Are you going to practice the 3?
I think so.
Or are you just going to practice? Are you going to practice the 3 scopes?
Yeah, I think you're right there.
if you take any particular action that is an ethical action, and one person has one motivation and another person has a different motivation, the ethics would be the same, even though the motivation may be different. So it wouldn't matter which vows you had. If you were both doing the same ethical action, it would be equally ethical, but just with a different motivation.
And that different motivation makes them more powerful because you've got the accumulation of because of your bodhicitta motivation, you've got faster accumulation of merit through the power of that, even though the actual physical restraint or verbal restraint is the same.
So maybe, can we rephrase the question to say, if you practice the ethics of restraint with the bodhicitta motivation, does it prevent you from practicing the bodhisattva, so the pretty much about with the motivation renunciation?
Yeah, you can say it like that.
I mean,
But you said the monastic. That makes sense to me now. But
So
I understand what you meant by
No, no, no.
it means that it becomes irrelevant.
Does it mean that it's more important? Like, by the word preclude, I sort of thought maybe you're saying that the bodhisattva motivation is more important than renunciation, which is,
Yes.
you could say that, right? But you still need renunciation in order to practice bodhisattva.
So if you were to rephrase the question in the way that you rephrase it, how would you answer it?
It doesn't prevent you from
No,
practicing the renunciation.
So that-
Mm.
No, and I like the comment that Jason just made up there. That
Let's
it's,
see.
More merit, depending on the motivation, that, you know, by having the monastic vows, you ultimately are creating more merit, and they certainly do not preclude. They don't preclude the renunciation vows or the prenuptial vows at all. It's all inclusive. It's a cumulative.
Mm.
All
I think Lama Tsongkhapa said it quite succinctly in the 3 principles of the path.
What did he say? That they,
Continuation, bodhicitta, purity.
Well,
yeah, they're all, yeah.
I mean,
so just to be clear about it, I totally agree with you guys, but I just kind of brought it up just to kind of make us think about it. Particularly when we think of the section that we've read through in the previous week that was taken from the Lama Rinpoche. So Lama Tsongkhapa said that you should guard, let's see, you should guard all your vows, including the Pratimoksha vow, which means that, and we've also looked at, which means that if you're a Bodhisattva monastic, definitely you should guard your monastic vow, which was also, I think that we've spoken of before when we looked at the root downfalls in the 46 secondary offenses. Yeah, I just doubled the penalty. The 46 secondary offenses, that if if you have that intention, if you have that idea that when you practice the ethical discipline of a bodhisattva, you do not need to guard the ethical discipline of a Hinayanist. Sorry?
That's what you were getting at.
Yeah.
That you think, oh, I'm above that because I'm practicing the bodhisattva path. So
Which is false, totally false.
Yeah, but I was getting at that, but also, I think that when you take the refuge vow, you take it with the intention to guard it for the rest of your life. So you're not saying that I'm going to do it till I'm going to attain the state of enlightenment. You're committed to guard the vow till death. And the same thing also applies to the ordination vow. Right? So you're taking ordination vow, and the commitment that you make is for the rest of my life, which means until my death. So you're not committing to do it until you attain the state of enlightenment.
So that is a difference.
You're thinking that I'm going to guard this vow for the rest of my life.
That's
Now, monastic, but also the refuge vow.
Yeah.
And when you do it according to the Vinaya tradition, and this is how we take vows. We take vows in a way that accords with the Vinaya tradition. They're done with a Hinayana motivation in order to attain the state of liberation. So now when you practice the ethics of bodhisattvas, it does not exclude or preclude, whatever you call it, does not leave out also those vows that you have taken with the motivation to attain the state of liberation. So you should also guard them.
Can we just read the question again now, just with having that in mind?
Yeah.
The party mentioned that we also just take on this one.
can you read it out again?
Does guarding the perfection of ethics of restraint preclude the guarding of a monastic vow that was taken with the motivation of renunciation? Prevent. Or not exclude, not include. Prevent.
Oh, exclude. Exclude. He wants to know if they're mutually exclusive. The answer's no.
Yeah, that's what we.
Live out. Live out.
Not preclude is wrong.
Anyway, I thought so in the review questions, Sanders, I put stuff that we haven't necessarily discussed in our sessions, but it's good to think about them. And if they are complicated or if they are confusing, then I don't put them in the exam. So
I said that if we're guarding perfection, the essence of restraint, then we would also be guarding our monastic vows, because when we remain like a piece of wood, it would be very hard to create non-virtue with our body and spirit.
yeah, you can say that if you guard your ethical discipline of the Mahayana, then you'll also be guarding the ethical discipline of the Hinayana. Yeah, you can say that.
What about my query? Because remember that case where the Buddha had to kill someone on board a ship or something to stop the rest of the crew being murdered or something like that. He had clairvoyance, and as when he was a bodhisattva in a previous life. So in some cases, especially highly realized bodhisattvas, may need to break some of their Hinayana vows in order for them to maintain their bodhisattva vow, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that we, to some degree, we spoke about it with respect to considering prohibited and
yeah,
what was it? And permitted actions. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, where you have to kind of suspend because of a certain reason the practice of one perfection and go with the other. That was, I think.
There were various examples and that
Yeah.
was one.
Yeah. But just also, it just reminds me that when I took ordination with Sidra Rinpoche, then he said along the ceremony of ordination, he said that he did say that you take it with a motivation of Hinayana, but then he said that on top of that, you need to top up your motivation. So he says also think that you're taking an ordination to practice the Mahayana and even more so to practice Vajrayana. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that was within the actual ceremony.
Yeah.
He said that.
Yeah, Mahayana and even more so Vajrayana. So kind of, you can I think Vajrayana. It says you need to correct your motivation so that you'll practice the Mahayana and even more so the Vajrayana.
And mostly the
More so.
more so. Thank you. That's what I couldn't
Yeah.
hear. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
No,
Can we get you a cap on?
Yeah.
I've got another question, yeah?
Yeah.
Council? Question 10.
Question 10. Unquestionable.
Oh, did you? Did you just answer that?
I don't know. Let's see. Where is it?
So what is the main difference between guarding against deteriorations of body and guarding against deteriorations of the mind? And then the tricky part that we got confused on is that you need to refer to the difference. Like we're not really clear about what you.
That's it.
What did they put?
So what is the main difference between guarding against deteriorations of body and guarding against deteriorations of mind?
And then you've got the little note that you need to refer to the difference. It's been taken away in that one for some reason.
Oh yeah, because I saw when I was setting the exam, I saw that actually I said you need to look at it. Anyway, I saw that I haven't completed the sentence and I forgot what I was on about, basically. Yeah. Totally forgot what I was on about.
No. What we thought, well, I'll just speak for myself, but I voiced at the time of our discussion, is that the way to guard against deterioration of the body is to behave like a tree, like a block of wood. But guarding against deterioration of the mind, you need to apply antidotes. So that was, so you need to, so that is the difference. One is that you're doing nothing. You don't know what you're remaining steadfast, that's what you're doing. And the other one is that you need to be engaged, saying, oh my God, major alert. And
Step back.
Mr. Robinson, affliction.
Well, when I look at those two sections, it seems to me that here in the guarding against deterioration in the trainings of the body, Shantideva mentions those 27 gateways for mistaken conduct. So it says, make sure that you recognize those 27 of ways of according conduct, which means that we need to be to have introspection to guard, to find out when we have one of those 27 way of incurring misconduct. So that's what Shantideva instructs us in this section.
that's.
Guarding against deterioration in the trainings of the body.
Right, yes, so make sure you
Yeah.
go to 27
Yeah. Now, with guarding against deterioration in the trainings of the mind, so what Shantideva does here, rather than say guard against this, guard against that, it says actually develop positive qualities, develop faith and trust and faith and resolution, be respectful, contemplate freedoms and opportunities and so forth. So it seems that here he posits that kind of on a more of like on a positive side, rather than saying that you need to abstain from this and that and this and that.
Or I like the way it put it, is getting a grip on our mind to only practice virtue.
Yeah, it says, basically it says, be constantly virtuous. Get a grip, be constantly virtuous, but it kind of lists down those 9 things that are virtuous. 9 things that are virtuous are not very
And I would like to invite anyone, both here and at home, if they want to, we'll look at these 2 or a couple every week and just see when we are engaging in them and when we're not, and just how we go. Because it really helps, I think, like you said, to really focus in on this. So if anybody's interested, please let me know. That's station. I'd love to have a weekly conversation with you and really flesh things out.
You know, in the FPMT BP program, there's also a component, if someone wants to do the whole program, there is also a component of self-evaluation, where I think that this is the wish of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, that we should really look at the teachings, but also the mind, and become aware of to what degree afflictive states of mind are present. You know, so how many times do we get angry? How many times do we have attachment and so forth? So the FMT education department devised this questionnaire that we can use for ourselves, like, you know, an evaluation sheet with in which we detail on a weekly basis the occurrences of afflictions or even positive states of mind. So when we try to introduce them to the study program, none of us liked it. I mean, the students, it sounded kind of very much I wouldn't know. Very much not Australian. Know how to say it, but kind of, you know, people were like, no, this is not how we do things in Australia. This is not how we.
Just happened to have on me the, because I was talking about something in a discussion group, not this, the Manual for Compassionate Service FPMT.
All right.
It has all those self-evaluations in the back, which includes the inner job description, the Bodhisattva attitude, etc., personal checkup, language, karma of speech, etc.
Yeah, so Donna says it reminds her of the inner job description.
Yeah, doing it on a daily basis.
Yeah. Anyway, so when we tried to introduce it here, there was a lot of resistance.
Actually, can I just, as a sideways, someone who was doing the master's program, the first round of master's program, where Rinpoche introduced this about the anger, and they'd say, like, it's not supposed to be a test, it's supposed to be self-evaluation, but you thought, now should I put something down, because otherwise I'm not, if I didn't get angry, then they're saying, oh, you're not recognizing when you're getting angry. And it was like, oh, just put a number down, you know, just put something down, you know, rather than saying, no, I didn't get angry this week.
It sounds like the self-confession practices that were done during the Cultural Revolution in China, where you had to confess something.
Something,
Yeah. Anyway, I'm saying that because now, although we had resistance to that, I think that in the way that Dechen introduced it, actually, it's an excellent practice, you know.
No, I know, I had a great Dharma buddy who sadly no longer talks to me, but yeah, we were the best of friends for about 5 to 6 years. And we used to get together on a regular basis. And it was at the time when Geshe Michael Roach was all the rage. And it's something that he really encouraged. And he had a great setup. And it used to be just great that it really gave an opportunity to, oh my gosh, I did this today. You know, normally you miss it completely. But if you're focusing on a few, or a couple every week,
Hmm.
and you've got somebody that you're going to end up having a conversation with over a cuppa, you know, a friendly chat, it's just really enriching.
Actually,
Very,
It's-
very
to come back to the IJD in the job description, because that's something that Rinpoche wants all of everyone doing service in FPMT to do on a daily basis, and you do it, you go through it, both regret and rejoice in what you have refrained from. And then it's really good because then you do your graduate self-practice and you've got all the examples right there where you'll regret.
and the daily apologies and stuff.
Yep.
So just to summarize the answer to the question, I would answer it in the following way. So when you look at guarding against deterioration of the body, then guarding against the list of 27, like when my mind becomes attached to pleasant things such as wealth, friends, etc., when I want to be angry with unpleasant things like enemies. So this is guarding against deterioration of the body, the trainings of the body. Then in terms of guarding against deterioration of the mind, then Shantideva explains the 9 antidotes. So being certain, resolute in the Dhamma, being highly devoted, being firmly resolute to perform your practice without allowing interfering circumstances to arise, being polite, having shame, and so forth. So rather than explaining it from the negative side, he explains it from the virtuous side, what you need to have in order to, yeah, and it is like you said, being kind of totally, how do you say, invested in virtue.
Yeah, and applying the antidotes.
Yeah.
You know, the mind was more engaged in actively applying antidotes, while the body was more just making sure you shut down and restrain from negativities like behaving like peace of wood. So just out of interest, if I had put what I said, that, more as that, from your perspective, I've probably only half answered the question.
So what could you say again? What would be your complete?
Well, I guess I could have then expanded and said the 27 gateways of 9 positive attitudes in relation to the other. But to me, that's not what you were asking. The difference, you know, you need to refer to the difference. So one is more or less refraining, and the other one is engaging. So for me, that was the difference.
Yeah, that's correct. Although, you know, in the section of what you said with respect to the antidotes, I do agree that guarding the mind would also be applying antidotes. But just looking at on the basis of what Shantideva says, he doesn't really use the word antidotes, I think, directly. It just says, it speaks about this is what you need to develop in your mind, all those virtuous qualities. And then Getze Dhammarinchen came later on and created this outline, and it says, this is an application of the antidote, which then can be confusing because just when you go through the outline of Getze Dhammarinchen, it might give you the impression that Shantideva here says that you have this non-virtuous state, this is the antidote that goes with it. You have the other non-virtuous state, this is the antidote to it, where it doesn't take that approach. It just says, in order to guard the mind, you need to have those 9 virtuous qualities, or 9 virtues.
I saw that Rinchen Khenpo,
Yeah, Khenpo Kumpa.
he doesn't do it that way either. He's more specific with the list.
Yeah.
Very clear with the list. That he says, you know, there's not the antidotes, there's just 9 positive attitudes. And by practicing them, you will automatically not be doing any of the
Yeah, if you practice them, that's like the antidote to
everything.
Oh, well, to all, you know, certainly all, most, if not all, 27 gateways of mistaken conduct.
Which I like that one. Number 8 was my favorite. At all times, maintain the nature of a magical apparition. Isn't that beautiful? Maintain the nature of a magical apparition.
Yeah.
A magical apparition.
Straight out of Hogwarts.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's briefly recap what we said in the previous week and also this week. Today means. So we finished with ethics of restraint. We started with the way to train ethics in ethics of gathering virtuous dhammas. We said that the main hindrance for the second type of ethics of gathering virtuous dharmas is the attachment to the body, right? So then here Shantideva explains in the first section, abandoning attachment to the body, the cause for not training in ethics. Let's just briefly look at. So in those two verse, it says, if you're not made unhappy when this body is dragged here and there and taken away by vultures attached to flesh, then why do you advise so now? Holding this body is mine. Why mine? You got it so. Since you and it are separate, what use can it be to you? So these two verses are the main points, two main points in abandoning attachment to the body, which I reckon that is kind of a sensitive point to many of us. Kind of, we don't like different remarks being made about our body, right? It's like every once in a while, when I used to live at the same house with Geshe children, every once in a while I used to make comments about my belly. Now, which is quite common in Tibetan culture, kind of telling you how fat you are and that you have a bulging belly and so forth. And although, everything was done in jest, and we're having a good laugh about it, and we're pointing at each other deficiencies and so forth. Well, yeah, we still kind of don't, in general, I think that we don't like people to make comments about our body. So what Shantideva says here is really spot on, right? So think about it, kind of how you're made uncomfortable when people make comments about you. Or sometimes kind of I noticed that when I go out either here in Australia or in Israel, people always look, obviously, people are not used to see foreigners go around wearing robes or dress. Most of them even don't know what it is. So you do feel like you're the center of attention, and sometimes kind of feel that it'd be nice to be anonymous, people not looking at you. But again, kind of, if we apply what Shantideva says here, then what do we care about it? Easier said than done, isn't it?
Can I just say, also, even if you don't feel like you do care about all of that, and maybe you don't, but the attachment to the body at the time of death's another thing, because then the body really is dissolving.
Yeah.
So even we don't feel like, well, I don't care, hairstyles that have gone out the window, dress codes have gone out, not code, styles, but still, at the end of the day, we'll find out how strongly attached to the body we are. So,
At the time of death. It is true, but I think that kind of here, since that Shantideva is admonishing us now, kind of for having throughout our life or during our life, attachment to the body, so long as we're alive.
Well, I think sometimes it's other people's attachment to our body. Like, why would you make a comment about somebody else's body? It's not your business. Why do we do that?
why do you get affected by someone doing
Because
that?
we're projecting. We're obviously projecting onto other
Why
people.
people are making comments about others people's body or features and so forth?
Yeah. Or has husbands that want their wives to be whatever, big or small or yada. But there's also that sort of projection not only that we can put on ourselves, but if you don't put it on yourself, other people can put it on too. And that's
Well, we live in a world that is controlled by attachment, isn't it? Attachment to the body is one thing.
It took me a fair while to really understand what he was saying when, we've got this big attachment to our body that is so filthy. why aren't we attached to a piece of wood that looks like us? And why don't we label that as I, me? Which would make a bit more sense because it's nice.
Someone's got a comment about the six pack there.
Yeah, that's it, we are.
You mean your six pack? I think I have probably 2 sets of 6 packs, one stacked on top of the other. 12 packs. Anyway, I guess we see our body as the I. Yeah, we identify with the body. Pointing faults in the body it's like pointing faults in I sometimes.
And
Anyway.
we think in the West, like with such a materialistic culture, and the mind doesn't really exist in our education. Like there is nothing that's not the body.
Mm.
So how can we not be attached?
Yeah.
There's nothing else to think of it.
Yes.
As I.
I mean, interestingly or not, I mean, maybe not interestingly, sadly, it seems that kind of now in some places in Asia, it's kind of, you have even extreme versions of that. Like, for example, in Taiwan, it's so hard for a woman to get a job if she's not thin. If she's slightly chubby, most of places of work are kind of closed. So you need to look slim, you need to look fit, you need to look beautiful, you need to look young. I think that I read that in Japan a couple of years ago, kind of they had women protesting that in some workplace they were not allowed to work with glasses. Glasses, a woman wearing glasses is not sexy or not beautiful, so they were prohibited from wearing glasses. Yeah, so sadly, kind of we have extreme versions of those attitudes.
Well, look at us, we're all unemployed then.
What's that?
She said we're all unemployed.
Well, we'll
Don't
be
tell
unemployed.
Glasses.
Yeah.
Don't go to Japan for a job.
I guess unless you're like an English teacher or something. All right. So what was the thing with the frame? Verse 61, why confuse mind? Do you not hold a clean wooden form? Well, it's like if we hold on to the body as beautiful, Shantideva says, actually, when you look at the body, the inside kind of, it's quite putrid.
Even on the outside, you get those magnifying mirrors and you think, oh my gosh, it's not pretty. All the pores and
All the mites that live in the pool.
the hairs. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so Shantideva says, why wouldn't you take a nice and fancy wooden frame for the residence of the eye? Why do you choose this body? This body is not attractive, it is unattractive. So, this is just one way of thinking of reducing the attachment that we have to the body. So if you come up with an answer, I don't choose a wooden form, or I don't call a wooden form my body. I call this one is mine.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to call that mine and not a wooden form. What would how would you answer Shantideva's claim or Shantideva's verse, sorry?
I have to carry the wooden form around with me everywhere. I think it's an extra set of arms.
Why confuse mind? Do you not hold on to clean wooden form? Just what is the point of guarding this rotting machine that is a collection of filth? So I would say that the point of guarding this rotting machine that is a collection of filth is that this is mine. This is my body. But a wooden form is not my body. So therefore, it does make sense to guard it. That's what I would answer Shantideva. So if you were Shantideva, what would you say to me?
That you guard it because you guard this body because it houses your mind, whereas a wooden form does not house your mind, and you need your mind to be able to become enlightened.
Other ideas? You will took.
The wooden form, our body decays and it's illusory. So yes, we feel to it because we experience the body and it enables us to do good.
Mm.
However, just like all before, it will decay, it's illusory, so there's no point being attached to it. It's just like the form and disintegrate.
So Donna says, don't consider yourself so separate from everything else. And Eva says, the mind needs the body to perform functions as a human. So I think that I would probably answer it in a way that all of you, most of you, if not all of you, have said. It makes sense to guard the body because the body makes us not only function as human beings, but it also supports the consciousness and intelligent consciousness. We, on the basis of that combination of body and mind, we have the precious human rebirth, but it doesn't, so it's okay to guard the body, but not with a sense of attachment. Not to guard the body out of attachment, but to guard the body as a conveyance of virtue, as a means for cultivating virtue.
Is that's what question 10 would look like?
Yeah.
It's like, the reason why we value this body is because it is the collection of the aggregates that allows us to take advantage of this precious human rebirth, really, isn't it? It's not any specific thing within the body. It's a collection of it that allows us to practice Dharma, to practice virtue.
Well, yeah, precious human rebirth is actually called in Tibetan a precious human body. So,
precious human body.
Yeah, this is how you call it in Tibetan, precious human body.
Oh, well, why don't they say that? That makes it all, that brings it all together very nicely.
Don't pay attention to me, I'm just...
Obviously not.
No, I think that, this is how you call it in Tibetan, although I think that precious human life sounds, I guess, more inspiring, less materialistic, more...
Well, it's more inclusive because it's not just the body.
Well, it's more, I guess, that the emphasis is a human body that supports a consciousness. So the consciousness is all the other aggregates come together, but it's on the basis of this particular human body. All right, so
Thank you for that.
no worries. Also, just another note that I wanted to make with respect to verse 60, holding this body as mine, why mine do you guard it? Since you and it are separate, what use it can be to you. So, Geshe Jamin sometimes used to say that when you think of the body as mine, and you think that it is totally permissible to cherish the body because this is mine, it says that when you think of the ingredients that this body came from, you don't hold them as mine. Like, for example, when you think of the sperm in an oven that came from your father and mother, you don't consider those substances as mine, right? You don't develop a sense of attachment to your mother's egg or to your father's sperm. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty awkward. But still, you hold the result to be quite dear to you. So it says that this is one thing that you can also think of. Also, with respect to just working with attachment, it says that when you think of holding a body, caressing a body, hugging a body, and so forth, would you have the same attitude with respect to the causes of the body? Like, let alone you're not going to want to caress them, to hold them, and so forth. They will probably make you flinch, right? If you think of the substances that the body is made of. Anyway, let's just cover some more ground. So I think that these verses under the section of abandoning attachment to the body, calls for not training in ethics, are quite clear. Shantideva provides in point D reasons it is unreasonable to be attached to the body. Let's look at these verses. What use is this body to you if its filth is unfit for you to eat, if its blood is not fit to drink, and if its intestines are not fit to be sucked? So sometimes we work with syllogisms. We formulate correct reasons in our meditations just to prove a certain point. Like, for example, take the person. They do not exist inherently because they are dependent arising. Take this book. It is impermanent because it's changing from moment to moment. So if you try to work out a syllogism from verse 65, can you come up with something?
The body is not suitable to arise attachment or something, or be attached to, because it's not suitable to eat or drink or such.
Yeah. Yeah, you can say that. So take the body. It is of no use to me because its filth is unfit for me to be eaten. So that's reason number one. You can formulate actually different syllogism. Take the body. It is of no use to me because its filth is unfit for me to eat. Take the body. It is of no use to me because its blood is not fit to drink. Take the body. It is of no use to me because its intestines are not fit to be sucked. Who else? Anyway, who does it? Yeah.
Obviously, Tibetans do.
Well, this is what,
Cannibals, blood-sucking cannibals.
yeah. But I think that in general, this is what sausages are made of, right? Intestines and,
Outside, that's a coating on the outside. And
Yeah.
they put the meat and stuff in.
So then you suck the intestines, you suck the-
lovely.
You suck on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And then you can say that you can also formulate a syllogism from these two lines. Take the body. It is fit to be guarded because it's food for foxes and vultures. I mean, I'm not sure that it is a completely correct syllogism that fulfills the three modes and forward prevention and so forth. But I think that it's still kind of, you can formulate some reasons out of it. But you can also say that this body is fit to be guarded because it is a body of freedoms and opportunities. Now, if it is for the practice of Dharma, it's fit to be guarded. And if it's not, then you can say that it is not fit to be guarded, although it doesn't mean to say that it should fall into a sense or complete sense of the neglect.
It should be guarded because compost is still useful. Oh, there you go. Should be guarded and put in home.
If you're not going to practice Dharma, just compost it. Actually, it's interesting, kind of do you have can people in Australia feed bodies to wild animals or
Human bodies?
yeah, like could you choose, if you leave a will?
Can't choose a sky body.
What about can you ask for your body to be chucked to the ocean?
No, your ashes can be thrown in the ocean, but not your body.
If you drive forward and you have a disease, it can actually be over the side with, if there's a doctor on board.
Yeah, if you die on a boat, you can be buried.
International waters.
Also, there's also body farms where they put you at like in a little place, like
Yeah,
there, and
science.
just leave you there, and science, and then like if somebody dies, you can see how,
Use your cadavers.
yeah, it's really cool.
The universities and that, you can leave the body. You sign up for that purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, just kind of as a side comment, cremating body is such an energy consuming industry, which probably contributes to emissions and stuff. And there are no animals that can eat the body. It'd be actually probably in our circumstance, maybe it'd be better to be buried if it's possible. What about buried?
They make those tree pods now
Yes.
for that person, for that reason.
Tripods.
Instead of having cemeteries and graveyards, which we're running really short of,
Hmm.
they've got these tree pods, so you actually get used as fertilizer.
As
for a
compost.
tree.
So can you choose, do you go into a garden or a forest?
I think they've got special areas that because it's relatively new. and I
That's a
don't
lovely
know
idea.
where there's one in Australia, but I do believe there's
So we're
a trial
talking-
one.
Last time I-
Put that in your will.
The funeral industry was talking about car parks of like stuff in their bodies. Like,
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what they do in England. But then what others started was buried in a cardboard box. And so that for compost.
All right, so this first section, abandoning attachment to the body, the cause for not training in ethics, is quite straightforward. Then the second one is one should be knowledgeable about accomplishing virtue. So this section is also it's very straightforward. Now, if you were to summarize it in one or two sentences, just the spirit of what Shantideva is saying here, what would you say? Be peaceful, not harmless with your action.
And
Don't harm others. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like kind of be peaceful, tame, virtuous, subdued, treat others well, with a friendly demeanor, speak about the qualities and so forth. It seems that overall it speaks about how you carry out this peaceful, tame, and virtuous demeanor. And also keep in mind that in the Lamrim Chemo, Shantideva says in this section, when he explains ethics of gathering virtuous actions, it says that you need to be virtuous, but also you need to gather all the virtues. You need to generate virtues that haven't been generated. You need to guard virtues from declining, and you need to increase virtues more and more. So it's more like kind of a general overall, sorry?
That's what we were having this morning at the end.
Yeah, Geshe-la mentioned that with respect to bodhicitta. So this is the, it seems that this is what is involved with the ethics of gathering virtuous actions. Another thing that I just wanted to cover from what we've covered today, I think that kind of this section is also quite clear, being knowledgeable in the way of befriending others without incurring misdeeds. Then being knowledgeable about performing actions of the three doors. We spoke about verse 81, giving to special fields of giving. So let's just recap that quickly. Verse 81. 80 or 81? 81. Always being motivated by affection or being motivated by the antidote. In the fields of excellent qualities, benefit, and suffering, great virtues will come about. So Geshe-la spoke about three features. The time, the feature of the time is always. Then the feature of motivation, here it gives us two types of motivation for giving. So either by motivated by affection or being motivated by the antidotes. So what is this section refers to? Being motivated by the antidotes. Not doing it with attachment of anger. So if you think about, for example, if you give motivated by the antidote, what would that mean? If you practice giving motivated by the antidote, not wanting to receive anything in return. Sorry?
Wanting to benefit others.
Wanting to benefit others. Not giving out of pride. I think that, all those answers are correct. What I had in mind was also that giving is the antidote to miserliness. So you might be thinking that I'm miserly and therefore I need to give, to counteract directly miserliness or to counteract attachment. So it might be that currently you're not totally controlled by a sense of affection to others, but you know that you need to practice an antidote to miserliness or to attachment, so you give. Maybe that's also another.
I think it's the first level, First motivation. It's let go of self-grasping.
But I guess we talked about like giving on an auspicious day, giving with auspicious motivation, and then giving to a holy object, then virtue is great.
So then we have the fields of excellent qualities. So we spoke about the time, we spoke about the motivation. Now, the recipient or the fields of giving are those of excellent qualities. So excellent qualities could be, for example, the 3 jewels, your teachers. Those who benefited you, parents. Are teachers also, can you include teachers in those of benefits? So teachers belong both to those of excellent qualities and benefits?
ABC teachers.
No, just benefit.
Just benefit.
Sorry?
The 3 jewels
Yeah,
are
they
the
belong to
excellent
those.
qualities.
If it's your guru,
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah, I also got stuck within that at home. I thought myself, I'll put, first of all, excellent qualities are the 3 jewels. Then I thought about gurus. Well, gurus have excellent qualities, but also those who benefit us. Anyway, it's not a big point. Yeah, they can be in both. But another beings in the benefit box is the parents, as you said.
Well, and also holy objects.
Holy objects, they are the representations of body, speech, and mind, or the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha.
They say too.
Sorry?
Holy places.
Holy places. So how would you think of a holy place? Like
Where the Buddha died.
no, is it a field of excellent qualities? It is a field that benefited you?
Well, I think by making offerings, it becomes a field of benefit for me.
But would you give it because it is a field of benefit, that it has benefited you, or that a field of excellent qualities?
A field of excellent.
So a field of excellent qualities.
Yeah, field of excellent qualities.
Yeah, I would also tend to think there's a field of excellent qualities. Again, it's not that there's like necessarily a right and wrong answer to that. I think that in a field of excellent qualities, like for example, making offerings at Rajgir, for example, or when the Buddha taught the Perfection of Wisdom sutras, like the Heart Sutra starts, thus did I hear at one time, the Bhagavan was dwelling in Rajgir. So it says that this beginning highlights these 5 excellences that were present at the time that the Buddha gave teaching. So there was the excellent time, the excellent retinue, the excellent place, the excellent Dhamma, and something else. Anyway, and the excellent entourage or audience. So, so you can say that those places of worship are also bases of excellent qualities, maybe. So then, giving to those sufferings, I think that it's also clear, giving to those that are at need, the sick, the ill, the impoverished, and so forth. So if you give with those excellent qualities always, not just intermittently, with a good motivation, and to those fields of excellent qualities or benefits of suffering, great virtues will come about. But also if you give just to, to ordinary people, that I think will also be okay. It's not that that will not be virtuous. It's good to be generous as much as we can with whoever we meet along the way.
Is there, in the commentary on that verse, does it list what it says what the fields of qualities are for those 3, just in the commentary?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I went to, the fields of qualities.
There, triple gem and so forth, one's parents and so forth, because they have, and so forth is all the other.
Everybody else.
Places and.
Well, like with the field of benefit that, parents and so forth could be your whole extended family. Or mothers and
Including your siblings that annoy you all the time.
especially your siblings and little children.
All right.
Well, not all the time, yeah.
All right, let's leave it here for now.
We've got 2 more minutes, come on.
Well, I can do,
I'm only one.
sorry?
I'm totally.
I did prepare a secondary offense,
Well,
but
come on, yeah, go, 1 minute.
keep it for tomorrow.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, hold your breath.
Dedication.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks.
Got time for dedication.
Stay suspended on your seats. Yes, no, more and more. Okay.
May I
Quickly become Lord Buddha and sentient beings into his own because of this means. May the supreme jewel Bodhisattva, which is not the reason, rise and grow, the reason never diminish but increase more and more. In this land encircled by snowy mountains, where the source of all happiness and good, all pathways to residing God. Please remain into samsara and you uphold the subduous noble way of size and bountiful, powerful, sustaining, preserving, spiritual, mental, master, stop. Masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers of holy individuals. Protect all myself and others, your disciples. Please live long. All right. Cheers. Cheers.
Thanks, Katzen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry?
Cheers, Carson.
network is still done.
Why has it been troublesome? All right.